guys, it's just me this time. I know, your favorite kind of episode, me just screaming into the void. Hey gang, and welcome to another episode of Try Not to Curse. It's 1:30 in the morning here. I just wrapped up an episode of the YouTube show that I'm a part of. That was 4 hours of my life. Woo! We had a lot to talk about. But anyway, I always feel bad when I leave you guys with like gaps of time between episodes. And there have been things that I probably should address, things that I'm going to talk about. To be fair, I'm probably going to do some shit talking on this episode. But because it is so late, as you guys know, when Liz is tired, Liz curses a lot. And I'm going to try really hard to not act like a sailor. We'll see what happens. First of all, did you notice an ad playing before this episode, after this episode, before and after some other episodes? Ya girls finally got some monetized ads going. I will say I don't have complete control over what the ads are, but I am familiar with some of the ads playing on the various channels that I am a part of. Currently, there's this god-awful Ryan Seacrest ad. This is part of the shit talking, by the way. There's this god-awful ad that Ryan Seacrest is doing. It sounds like they recorded it in spurts. It's just, I mean, how does that man have millions and millions of dollars spread across multiple venues and productions, and that's the best commercial they could get from him? Ugh. Yuck. Also, I'm not familiar with Giggly Squad. If you guys listen, and I'm not shit talking somebody else's podcast, I'm not familiar with these ladies, but they've been doing a lot of ads lately, and I also find those to be god awful. Not that I should be shit talking the ads that are playing prior to and following these episodes, but I'm a gal of the people, and listen, I know you're going to hear them and get annoyed by some of them. I hear them and I get annoyed by some of them. I'm just addressing it. That's all I'm saying. I'm just addressing it. Thankfully, these channels switch up their ads rather frequently, so you won't be subjected to them for very long. But I did want to address it because that is something new to the show. I've never had the opportunity to advertise before. Now I've got it. What will come of it? What couple of pennies I'll collect at the end of every month? No idea just yet. I really don't know how any of this works. I've been honest about that. Y'all know I have no idea what I'm doing here. But it's a really big opportunity for me. So I just wanted to bring it up because I know ads are annoying. We are in this culture of, instant gratification. I don't have time to waste on an ad. Thankfully, especially with channels like Spotify, you can usually fast forward through those things. Again, probably shouldn't be saying that since they are going to be throwing a couple pennies my way on occasion, but I got to keep it real, man. It's good news for me, maybe bad news for y'all, but it's something that I'm really thankful and appreciative for the opportunity. Hopefully it will continue on. Hopefully it will lead to bigger and better things. But I've got a lot of good stuff still coming up. We are almost at the end of this season. I had 50 episodes in season 1. I'm going to try and do the same with season 2. I still have a number of guests that just, for various reasons, mainly scheduling, I just haven't been able to get on the show just yet. But a lot of people coming down the pipeline still. I think we're officially at 40 episodes, so I've got 10 left, and we're gonna do the darn thing. I hate leaving you guys with gaps of time between each, so that's why I decided to take this time at 1:30 in the morning to kind of come on and just kind of give y'all an update. I do have a lot of things coming up in the next couple of months. I can't speak on all of them, but a lot of decisions have been made. A lot of, I would say life-changing things are going to be happening. But just an update on my health and again, my continued journey with after bariatric surgery. It's officially been 2 years now. And as you guys know, I've been struggling a lot dealing with and accepting that I have hypoglycemia, dealing with my anemia and how I wasn't absorbing iron anymore after the surgery. I have had 2 infusions since that I think I've mentioned. The hematologist was like, oh, let's check your blood in 6 months. And I'm like, I feel like that's too long of a period of time. And I did start feeling fatigue again at the beginning of the summer after I had had those 2 infusions. So I said, you know what? It's been about 3 months. Let me check back in. Let me get some blood tests done now to make sure that I not only have absorbed the iron, but that I'm holding it, that I'm still maintaining my iron levels. And thankfully, I can say that yes, all of my numbers are really good. My electrolytes look great. My ferritin, my iron levels are great. Everything is exactly where it's supposed to be. And the fatigue was just because we were getting into the summer, it was getting warmer, and I'm still doing my allergy injections weekly. So as those doses have been going up, it affects me a little more. Thankfully, all of my other allergy symptoms have pretty much subsided ever since starting these allergy injections. The only real side effect I do have is fatigue, especially when it's particularly hot or when it's, like a high pollen, bad air quality kind of day. So with that, I've got no room for complaint here. Though that's my biggest issue right now. I'm doing all right. The hypoglycemia, I've seemed to have gotten more under control. Again, now that I am absorbing the iron, now I'm maintaining the iron. That's helped a lot. That's drastically changed things. But I've also, kind of switched up the way that I do things as well. My weight has plateaued and has remained where it is at right now. And it's not where I want it to be. It's quite frankly, it's not anywhere near I wanted it to be, but I'm still, I was down 90 pounds. Now I'm down about 75. I've gained about 15 since, again, dealing with, not absorbing the iron, the hypoglycemia, all of that annoying stuff. My doctors and I have finally we've sat down and we've had the conversation like, look, you've had a hormonal imbalance your entire life. Now you're dealing with this hypoglycemia situation. Now you're dealing with the anemia situation. You've got some setbacks that we didn't predict. But you are still doing all of the right things. I exercise regularly. I think I've mentioned that I've purchased an Oculus, and I've certainly been posting it on socials that I use the Oculus to work out. I'm using that regularly. I also am a part of an app where you actually pay in to kind of hold yourself accountable and make sure that you're maintaining your steps and you're hitting your numbers. So I'm doing all of the right things as far as my doctors are concerned, as far as my health, as far as how I feel. But unfortunately, the weight is just hanging out because of my other various medical health related things that I have going on. So that being said, the decision has been made to go ahead with some plastic surgery procedures earlier than expected. But I am starting to see the effects of having loose and sagging skin in certain areas. I won't get into total details, but things like rashes and irritation and just things that need to be addressed, especially given the nature of my job, how physically demanding my job is, the fact that I have to wear a specific uniform that chafes and rubs and catches in certain spots. So I'm going to be looking into that next. I've already had a consult with my primary care doctor. I will be having a consultation with a plastic surgeon. And listen, gang, I have no delusions of grandeur. I'm not going in there thinking like, oh, so this will help me get to my goal weight. Absolutely not. It's not even about weight loss. It's about being able to move comfortably and just be able to do basic things, be able to work my job without being in pain at the end of a 12-hour shift. So please understand, I'm not going in there saying, give me a beach body. I'm going in there saying, these are the areas that I'm having some trouble with that we predicted were going to happen. We knew it was coming. Again, would I like to be closer to my goal weight? Absolutely. But anything that I can do to just make a normal, functioning day to day better, that's what we're going to do. And that's the goal here. I will say, I've never delved into plastic surgery. I've never even thought about it. Like, things like facelift, Botox, fillers, any of that does never interest me. I've never felt like it was something that I needed. So I'm really not familiar with that world. So when I went into the plastic surgeon's office to schedule this consultation, the girl at the desk was like, so what are you getting done? I said, well, that's what I want to talk about. I want to see how much is possible to get done, given insurance, given the various conditions that I have. Because again, with insurance, you have to paper trail everything. You have to document everything. There has to be just cause. You can't just go in there and say, hey, I want X, Y, and Z done. You need justification for everything, because heaven forbid a company that I contribute to on a regular basis and a nice, decent chunk of money actually comes back and says, oh, okay, we'll do the things you'd like to do. No, we can't have that. So, so the girl at the desk says to me, she goes, oh, so you want a mommy makeover? And I'm like, the actual fuck? Like, is that not the most disgusting thing you've ever heard in your life? Like, what? Like she said that to me and I was like, no, gross. Like, what? And I was telling a couple girlfriends about it and they were like, oh, that comes from the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. Apparently that's something that's how they refer to after they have their kids and they've decided they're done having kids or whatever. That's their bounce back surgeries. They call it a mommy makeover. And I mean, I'm sorry, fucking gag me with a spoon. Are you, ugh. Women, people talk about us in certain ways because we let them. Like, stop being gross. Stop being gross. So no, I'm not getting a mommy makeover. Quite frankly, there are certain parts of my body that I'm fine to live with right now. Like, unfortunately, I really want my arms taken care of. They are wing-like. I've got the bingo wings going, whatever you want to call them. I'd love to get those done. Probably not going to, because I don't have any actual, medical ailments, issues because of that excess skin. And so that's not happening. My boobs, as I've said since the beginning, I knew it was going to happen. That's usually where women lose weight first, is in their chest, because heaven forbid. So I'm really disappointed with my boobs. I'm trying not to be depressed about it, but I went from, triple D's to just sagging C's. I mean, my cousin got married last month and I felt really good about this dress that I had worn, because when I first bought it, it was kind of tight on me, but it was fine. And then, I put this dress on and it's loose and I'm excited because it's going to be so comfortable. Like, I actually, I get to wear it out and I'm not going to have to worry about, it ripping if I turn a certain way or looking weird in a certain spot. I was like, oh, it fits great. It's, it's nice and loose. I'm going to be comfortable. Well, I look in the pictures and my boobs look like they're down to my freaking belly button. And I'm like, oh, cool. I'm not posting this. So, I'm not having any issues with my chest or with my boobs. I don't like the way they look, but insurance isn't going to take that as a valid reason to get any work done. So the boobs are going to be staying where they're at. The bingo arms are going to be staying where it's at. My thighs are getting a little cottage cheesy, but again, they're not affecting anything really. Yes, I've got a little bit of chafing, but thick thighs save lives. People understand it is what it is. That's part of life. So the thighs are probably not going to be addressed. It's going to be a lot of stuff on my abdomen, and quite frankly, my sagging booty is also probably going to get some kind of attention. But as I'm trying to explain, and I didn't even want to mention it because I do feel uncomfortable about it, because like I said, it's ahead of my timeline. I really didn't expect to even talk about it, look into it, consider it for another 2 years or so. I really thought, I'm putting in all this work. I'm putting in all this effort. I'm doing everything I possibly can to stay on track, to keep on track. Again, because of that surgery, my body is still, getting full when it's full and telling me, nope, put the fork down, you're done. And I'm listening. I'm certainly not in a place where I ever want to make myself sick because I'm overindulging. But, as I talk to my doctors about it, they look back through my history. They're like, yeah, you've been at this weight for a couple of months now, and you've ramped up your exercise. You've changed your diet. You've changed it further. There are things you have changed. You're definitely still being really smart about the things that you're ingesting, and the frequency that you're doing stuff, like the bad stuff. Like anytime I get anything out of a drive-through window, like I'm still very conscious about what it is that I'm ordering, how frequently I order. Just the other day, I was out and I was tempted to stop somewhere. I said, no, you have food at home. So I went home and I ate the food I had in the fridge, but it's an everyday thing. I don't want to compare it to, an addiction or somebody that's recovering from an addiction, but it is something that is on my mind all the time and will forever be a big part of my everyday and my world, because it's something that I have to be very conscious about, and I need to constantly be making the right decisions. But again, after doing all of this work, again, I had started this 3 years ago, like I said, back in August prior to my surgery, when I had made the decision that, yes, I'm getting the surgery. I joined a gym. I stopped drinking alcohol. Not that I drank it much, but I stopped drinking soda, anything carbonated. Again, I maybe would have one a day, still not a whole lot, but I had already decided that I needed to do the work prior to the major operation, right? But unfortunately, because of my bodily makeup, my DNA, my chemistry, my hormones, whatever you want to call it, especially now being into my 40s, whereas I feel like if I had had that surgery in my 20s, maybe things would be a little different. But this is my reality. And like I said, all of my doctors agree that I am doing all of the right things. And this is just another part of the recovery, of the change, of moving things in the right direction. So surgery is, again, going to be back on the table. A lot of people are saying to me, well, why aren't you doing the trizepatides? Why aren't you doing the Mounjaros or the Ozempics and you guys, as you know, I've mentioned it on the show as well. I have no interest in those. They terrify the hell out of me. All of the horror stories that I've heard, people, it affects their organs, their teeth fall out, their hair fall out. And also once you get off it, you gain all of that weight, if not more, back anyway. And again, with my hypoglycemia, I don't know how that'll affect me either, because the entire point of those is to kind of curb your appetite. And I really, when my body needs fuel, my body needs fuel. And I can't ignore that. And I can't, try to mask that, because I'm going to be in some serious trouble. I also still feel that by taking that medication, I'm taking that medication away from the people who really need it, the diabetics or, the pre-diabetics. So I just don't feel good about any of it. And again, my doctors all agree for the same reasons. I am not a candidate for it at this point. And there are other things that I can do. Yes, surgery is drastic. And again, hopefully if I do start losing weight again after the fact, there may be more surgery down the line as well. But again, I would rather take care of things in my own way, in a way that I feel most comfortable. I feel that makes the most sense. So that's what I'm going to be doing. Again, and I can understand why some people may not agree, why some people may think it's me taking the easy way out. But, if you listen back to my conversation with Katrina after she had her surgeries, it's not an easy road to recovery. It's not a decision that I'm coming by lightly. Like I said, I've talked to my therapist, I've talked to my chiropractor, I've talked to my primary care doctor about all of these things. And we agree that I've come to a point now where I've lost as much as I could thanks to that surgery. And now more needs to be done. And so that's where I'm at. So that's the next step. Again, it also boils down to what insurance will and won't cover. I may not be able to get all of the things done that I would like to get done. I also, have to consider the fact that I live alone. My bedroom and my only shower are both located upstairs, and it might be weeks before I can actually walk up the stairs, let alone I'm not going to be able to shower for quite some time. We already know that, but just being able to take care of myself after a surgery like this, it may be impossible, and I may end up having to spend some time in a rehab facility for a couple of days, maybe a week, to get to a point where I can comfortably take care of myself alone. So there's a lot of factors going into this, and a lot of discussions that need to be had, and a lot of, frankly, conversations between my doctors and the insurance, and see what we can do. But that's the update. That's where we're at. Again, I feel really good. Like I said, I know that I'm making the right decisions. I feel good about the fact that I am working out as much as I do. But I'm still very, very busy. I'm still working my job full time. Like I said, I'm contributing to this YouTube show once to twice a week, still trying to get the podcast stuff in as well, still trying to live a life, see movies, go out with friends. The France trip is coming up at the end of August. There's a lot of things that are still ahead on the horizon, and I'm just trying to navigate all of it. And, sometimes it can be overwhelming. Sometimes it's a bit confusing. Sometimes it's a bit depressing. But it's a work in progress, right? And, no change worth making, comes easy or quickly. So that's the update there. That's what we're doing. But again, I'm sharing this because I know there are people out there that may be trying to make these decisions, try to figure things out, or maybe they're struggling with a completely different decision. And all I can say is, again, talk it out with the people that are closest to you. Talk to your friends and family, talk to people that have had surgeries like this or experiences like yours, talk to your doctors, talk to your healthcare professionals. Get a couple of opinions. Like I said, I probably wouldn't pursue this if there was any doubt from anyone. But again, talking to all of my healthcare providers, talking to other friends, talking to people who have been down this path, the fact that everybody is encouraging, everybody is supportive, everybody understands where I'm coming from and what I'm going through is really, really helpful and makes all the difference. So I definitely encourage you guys, if you're going through anything, share it, talk to people about it, and reach out, because you'd be surprised of the support system that you have available to you that you may not even realize. So with that being said, that's the latest there. Again, really looking forward to the upcoming guests that I have to finish off this season of the pod. I don't know what kind of break I'm going to be taking afterward. I'm hopefully I can get the last 10 episodes interviews in prior to the surgery, whenever that may be. Again, who knows if the surgery is even happening. Like I said, a lot of other things have to fall into place for that to happen. But I hope you guys have liked the most recent episodes. Again, Satori Shenkor and Kirsten Schultz. I was really, really fortunate. Their people reached out to me, which, never in my wildest did I think that would happen, nor, have monetized ads play before the pod. I have myself reached out to other people that I have seen on social media inquiring about coming on the pod. A comedian got back to me, so hopefully he'll be on next month. I'm really looking forward to it. He's someone that I've actually seen live, so I'm really looking forward to that conversation. Again, there are still plenty of friends and family members that have stories to tell. We just haven't been able to sit down and have those conversations yet, but they are coming. I'm really looking forward to the future and to what lies ahead. So I thank you all for sticking with me and sticking with us. I did want to touch on something. And again, this is going to fall under the shit talking category, but I don't mean for it to come from that place. Just sometimes I don't know how to say things I know how they're going to sound. You know what I mean? Like, I'm definitely not trying to bash anyone. I'm not trying to shit on anyone. I'm not trying to yuck anybody's yum. But recently I had just watched the Call Her Alex documentary, which is about Alex Cooper, who is the host of the Call Her Daddy podcast, the most listened to female hosted podcast and the most listened to podcast by a female audience in the entire world, which is no small feat. It's incredible. But I will admit, I knew nothing about her other than the fact that she had this podcast and that she was extremely popular. She now has this brand called Unwell. I've had some of their drinks. They're very good, low sugar, electrolyte drinks. Really good. I support her brand for sure. But I never listened to an episode of her podcast. Didn't know how she got so popular, didn't know how she got so famous. So I was interested. As you guys know, I've talked about this as well. I love documentaries. So I said, I'll sit down. Again, being a fellow female podcaster, certainly not to her level, but it was one of those I want to know how she got there. I want to know how she did it. I want to know what it was about her that made her so popular. Unfortunately, for me, being an overweight 40-something podcaster who's going through this, journey of trying to get healthy, try to look better, feeling some kind of way when she sees pictures of herself now that, she has done the work, but it's still not the results she expected, whatever category you want to throw me in right now. I watched this documentary and now, let me say, I'm not taking anything away from her. She self-taught herself. She grew up in an age of social media. She grew up in an age of cell phones. She grew up in an age of YouTubing that then turned into podcasting. So she got into it pretty much from the ground level, right? She started, recording videos with herself and her friends and making movies and making shows and coming up with really creative things. I mean, she had a green curtain that she used as a green screen when she was 10 years old. She taught herself how to edit. I'm not taking any of that away at all. But her fame began because in college, she and another friend of hers, both very slender, extremely attractive, kind of sorority girl vibes, started this YouTube channel. And everybody liked her because she would say outrageous things and she would do outrageous things. But at the end of the day, it's a hot girl doing and saying outrageous things. It's somebody that you want to keep watching. I call them bro chicks. Friends of mine in the past, when we talk about certain actresses that they like Anna Kendrick, for example. Oh, Anna Kendrick's so hot and she's so funny because she drinks beer and she burps and she scratches herself. And I'm like, bro, if I did that, you would be disgusted. You would think I was the nastiest girl you've ever met. Don't tell me that's an attractive quality. Don't tell me that that's what you want in your girlfriend. You're full of shit. Even if she was the hottest girl you've ever been with, you don't want to date the burping, scratching, farting hot. You're full of it. But these are the girls that get the attention and that are lauded by, frat bros and the like. So I was kind of annoyed in the documentary because they talk about oh yeah, she was out here just, being real and being honest and doing all of these things. But at no point did anybody say, oh, and by the way, she's also hot. Because I say outrageous shit, so her second episode of her podcast, when they started doing a pod, and again, it was not only, broadcast through various Audible channels, but it was also on YouTube as well. Her second episode of the podcast was talking about her blowjob technique, her never fail best blowjob technique. I mean, she was the Hawk Tuah girl before the Hawk Tuah girl was the Hawk Tuah girl. You know what I'm saying? She became famous for the Glug Glug 9000. Again, a hot, blonde, athletic college girl talking about giving sloppy blowjobs, leaving no detail out. You don't think that's going to get some views? You don't think that's going to get some subscribers? Again, if I were to do that, I would get death threats, gang, just simply because of what I look like, not because of what I'm saying, but because I'm saying it looking the way that I do. So it was disappointing that they didn't really address that part of it in the documentary. And again, maybe that's me coming from a completely different place in life, coming from a completely different perspective. But Abby and I talked about it the last Comic-Con we were at. We were at 90s Con, and we were in line for a couple of the same celebrities. So the remaining cast of 90210 was all there. We met everybody from Tori Spelling to Brian Austin Green, that delightful individual. Bless your heart, Brian Austin Green. But we got to Ian Ziering, and Ian Ziering, while nice and cordial, did not have any interest in talking to us at all. He signed our autographs, got a picture with us. Thanks for coming. See you later. Have a nice con. While we're waiting in line for other celebrities like Jason Priestley, we look over at Ian Ziering's line, and he's extremely chatty and talkative with slight, slender, more attractive girls. Again, Abby and I are in our late 30s, 40s. Not that we're frumpy, not that we're cat ladies, not that we're spinsters by any means. I had my little golden freckle tattoos across the bridge of my nose that everybody commented on. But we were not apparently his cup of tea, his demographic, the people that he found interesting. And it was very clear what type of people he found interesting and thought were worthy of his time, and who he wanted to give attention to, and who he wanted to get attention from. So when you have experiences like that, and then you see this person who is wildly successful, again, and I'm not saying, listen, I started late. I started recording in Mike's studio because I was overwhelmed with the amount of work that it takes to put on a production like this. So I promise you, I am not discrediting her at all. Her motivation, her passion, her drive and determination, and her doing the work. I will not take that away from her. Not at all, because she has put herself where she is. But again, the way we all start out is very differently for very specific reasons. So again, when I purposely tuned into this documentary to find out what it was that she did, and to sit back and go, oh, well, I could do that, but I will not get the same results. It's kind of a bummer. And it kind of, takes you back a little bit. Again, but I can only speak as a female. I can only speak from the female perspective. But as we know, men can get away with a lot more, a lot worse, looking a hell of a lot worse than the average Joe. And nobody bats an eye, because that's just guy shit, right? That's locker room talk, or that's just guys being guys, or like, oh, we're used to the fat guys being gross, but at least he's funny. At least he knows how to tell a joke. All of those things are perfectly acceptable. You can be a male chauvinist pig, but if there's entertainment value or quality to what you're saying, what you're doing, people will tune in. They don't give a shit what you look like if you're a guy. For the most part, I will say. So again, seeing this, hearing about her success, as I said, I've known of her for quite some time. I never tuned in. I just didn't. I was like, okay, call her daddy. Like, okay, that doesn't, as you guys know, I only listen to a handful of podcasts as it is, because Christ, I'm too fucking busy. But I heard about her. I knew her name. I've seen the name of the podcast go by. I was like, wow, good for her. That's so crazy that she's so crazy successful. But again, not a lot of us are starting off that way. And there's a reason. So I just wanted to put that perspective out there, because I also don't think that people think in those terms, especially if you are a hot athletic girl. You don't, a lot of people don't recognize the privilege and what privileges they do have. Now, mind you, she felt growing up, she said that she was bullied for her looks. She is a ginger. She has red hair. She was born with red hair. I don't know if it just naturally turned blonde or if she dyes her hair blonde now or what, but what have you. But so she was always made fun of for being a ginger, called fire crotch, called, demonic, all the kinds of bullshit that people think are funny to say about red-haired people, which I never understood. I think that's bullshit. But she was always bullied growing up. She considered herself to be the ugly duckling. It wasn't until, she started, really training and being a part of athletic sports in high school and college that, she felt comfortable in her own skin. And again, I'm not taking any of that away from her. Like I totally understand that mentality. But again, she didn't start her podcast with braces and stringy red hair. You know what I'm saying? She started when she was blonde, full figured, had the ideal body, and started making comments about blowjobs and sexual positions and STDs and, nightmare scenario dating and all those kinds of things. She talked about things that normal women talk about, which is also part of the appeal, which is why so many women do listen to her. But I guarantee you her initial viewers, her initial subscribers were Chads, Brads, and Dads. You know what I'm saying? So again, it was just something that that really struck me when I watched it. And like I said, kind of bummed me out, maybe because I'm envious, but probably is it. It's just because I'm envious, because not only is she appealing to look at, but she became successful. Yes, in her own right. Yes, in her own merits. But again, I just don't think people understand. Like, I think people see a story like that and they think, oh, cool. So I put the work in and I'll become just as famous as her. Honey, you won't. I'm sorry. Especially if you're a female, you won't. You have to also do all the things that she does and look the way that she does and have co-hosts that look the way that she does. Cause it started out as a 2-woman podcast. And that's just society, man. It fucking blows. I talk about it all the time. Every guest that I have that comes onto this podcast, with the exception of Kirsten Schultz and my own mother, and maybe Mike, nobody wants to be on camera. Nobody wants to be filmed. And that's also a big way that podcasts become popular, is you take some funny clips, and they do have to be funny. No one wants any serious fucking talk showing up on their 30-second TikTok reel. It's got to be a humorous clip that you can piece together and throw on there. But nobody wants to be on camera. Everybody's very self-conscious because the majority of the people that I talk to are around my age. We have grown up with the internet and we have seen how awful and disgusting and horrible human beings can be as keyboard warriors online. So I get it. But again, not helping my numbers, not helping my situation. So it's not as easy as that documentary would lead you to believe. And I want people to be really realistic about that. Mike has a great podcast with his co-host who they're both very well known. They're extremely popular people. They have friends all over the world. They have viewers and listeners all over the world. Are they taking off? Are they getting a syndicated show? Not just yet, maybe one day. But they're filming their clips and Mike is doing a great job editing some funny stuff and putting it out into the ethos. But, for some reason you have to find something that'll go viral. And sorry, gang, I'm not going to be talking about my blowjob technique on here. I'm just not. Sometimes my uncle listens to this. Sometimes my family members listen to this. My best friend listens to this. Babe, I'm not going to be talking about it. So I guess I'm never going to be famous. I don't know. I don't know. But it was just something that I recently saw and I just had to get it off my chest. And I wanted to do it just me. I didn't want to bring anybody else in on, again, I'm sure a lot of people are going to think that I'm coming from a place of pettiness or envious or what have you. So I didn't want to bring anyone else in on this particular topic because nobody else needs the heat. I'll take the heat. I don't give a shit. If you want to call me a hater or whatever, that's fine. And again, yes, I fully admit I have never listened to her podcast. I know she has a dedicated fan base, a dedicated following. I know what she does, particularly now. I mean, she's interviewed Kamala Harris, for Christ's sake, when she was the vice president. Like, she's not anything to laugh at or mock or dismiss by any means. Her podcast has really made a difference and continues to make a difference. I'm not going to take that away from her at all. So understand, but again, I'm also coming from a place as someone who has never listened to the show. So take my stupid opinion for whatever you want, or don't take it at all. It's completely understandable. But again, as we're wrapping up season 2, I just wanted to, those are just some thoughts, and I've talked about it ad nauseum as well, because again, we're in an age, we're in this social media, TikTok, Reels, YouTube, podcast, we're at this weird stage in life right now where we only have a 30-second attention span. And, what goes viral is what's most important. And how can you haven't seen that clip yet? Oh, I'll send it to you. And I want people to understand, and Tammy and I talked about this as well with her Instagram and TikTok stuff. Like, it's not as easy as you guys think it is. And it's not as easy as it looks. I mean, I just recently made 2 reels and they were a lot of fucking work. And this is why I don't make reels, pretty much, you know what I mean? But, even, like I said, I interviewed Kirsten, and she's happy to put our interview, because it was on Zoom. She's happy to put that out there. She has no problem being on camera, but Mike's really busy. Mike doesn't have the time to edit and cut it up and throw snippets out there on various channels, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, what have you. But even YouTube has started getting into, they have shorts now, because even YouTube recognizes nobody has the attention span anymore. So they have shorts that are up to 2 minutes long. And that's how people are being brought to channels. I was just talking with my cousin Tommy about it, who hopefully we'll hear from when I go to France. But same thing with his company, with their socials. He says hashtags don't make a difference anymore. That used to be the thing that would drive traffic, especially if it was a really popular topic. If you hashtag something that was in like the top 5 for that day or whatever, you might get more traffic because you might get more attention. But that doesn't bring boys to the yard. And, so he's having a hard time with his business trying to figure out what it is that gets likes and views and subscribers and interest. And so it's forever changing. So I just want anybody to understand that while it is overwhelming as far as equipment and editing and programs and figuring out what's right for you and figure out what works for you, then there's the marketing aspect of it. There is the social media aspect. Again, for me, I've always been hoped that I could get to a place of monetization, right? That would be the goal. It would be really great if this could be my full-time job, or if this could lead to something else that I'm passionate about. But I've toyed with the idea of getting a Patreon, but I don't have the time, because Patreon is additional content and is additional. I have to then constantly be on, checking in on Patreon and the comments and responding to people and all of those kinds of things and providing content there. So this is the most you're going to get from me right now, and the occasional reel that sucks to make. Sometimes I have interesting ideas. I don't fucking know. I still don't know what I'm doing at the end of the day. But again, just like, undertaking a life-changing thing, if you want to pursue something like this, if you want to pursue social media, if your friends or family or kids want to pursue social media, do your homework, research products, research equipment, figure out what the best program is, the most, affordable program. I think I've talked before, I spend $20 a month on the program that gets this, out into the stratosphere, out onto the airwaves. I pay Mike a studio fee every time I come in and record. So it's not going to be cheap. But it can be affordable. It can be manageable. You have to be really good with your time. Again, for me, the biggest thing is the scheduling. If I could quit my fucking full-time job, gang, it wouldn't be a problem. I would regularly have a guest every week. Not a problem at all. But unfortunately, it's not paying my bills. So as I said, we now are monetizing with these ads. Don't know how any of it works. Don't know what those checks are going to look like. It'll probably be like, if I'm lucky, $1 a month. I really don't know. But we'll see where this leads, if anywhere. And there's a very good possibility, like a lot of people on social media, that it won't lead to shit. And I have to be okay with that too, because it was my decision to go out there and start this. And damn it, I'm going to see it through. Until it doesn't make sense to do that anymore. But again, we've got some big things coming up. As I said, other people are reaching out to me now. They're coming to me now. I have the monetized ads. I am a little more comfortable reaching out to others as well. So I'm hoping for really good things coming next year. Like I said, I still have 10 episodes to go on this season. Not sure how long of a break I'll be taking between each, but for those of you that do listen, that do tune in, again, I'm sorry that it's another episode of me rambling, but I appreciate you. I appreciate your patronage, even though you don't pay for shit. But please, if you have any interest in coming on this show, I would love to talk to you. Everybody has a story. Everybody has a story and their own personal experiences that we can all learn a thing or two from. So I would love to have you. If you know anybody that may have an interesting story, that may want to get their story out here. I know I talk about a lot about medical traumas and misdiagnoses and things like that, but I think it is very important. So if you know anyone that has a rare disease or, has a particular experience that they feel needs to be shared with others, please email me, reach out. It's trynotToCurse@gmail.com. I would love to have them. The more the merrier. That's what I say. No story is a bad story. So please, I would love to talk to you or to anyone that you think may have something to say. So with that, I'll leave y'all. I love you. I appreciate you. I'm going to keep this going regardless of whether or not I ever go viral. And hey, next time you hear me, I'll have a guest. This was Try Not to Curse. Okay? Bye. Love you.